Hey folks, Daniel here. Welcome to my channel where I share my passion for cycling through videos about my road races, cycling trips, cycling training. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I recently discovered in Strava, which is segment goals. This is not a new feature, it's been there for a while, but I at least have been subscribed to Strava Premium for a long time and I hadn't seen it before. And it's something I think is going to be very useful for my training, so I'll share a little bit about why I think that and hope that that can be useful for you as well, whether you have used this feature in the past or you haven't. So let's dive in. So basically here, what we can see on the screen is we have a segment that I've set a goal for. So this is Mount Faber Road Climb to Top. It's a hill segment here in Singapore. And you can see in this little section here, it says upcoming segment goal. To do this segment in 4 minutes and 45 seconds. And if we click into this, we can actually see here what my goal is, deadline to completion. So that's how much time I've said, or by what time I want to achieve this goal by. And you can actually share these goals with your friends or acquaintances if you want to kind of have a shared goal, but here we only have myself. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually set a goal if you don't know how to do that. And afterwards, I'll talk a little bit about how I'm using this for my training. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. So one is, let's say here we're looking at the My Activities tab. So you can go into one of your activities, for example, this one here, and let's say you know that there's a segment here that you want to set a goal for. So here we can see all the segments in this activity. I'm just going to pick this one at random. And here you get this option to set a goal for this specific segment. And you can set basically a time, right? And then a date by you want to achieve this. And setting a date is very important because that will actually time bound your goals. And it will help you keep progressing on your training so that, you know, once you meet that goal, you can set a more aggressive one in the future and hopefully see progress as you go, right? The other way you can do this is by going to the My Goals tab. So here, this is in the subscription section here, My Goals. And here you can see all of your current goals. Also, you can see your past goals and whether you achieve them or not. So this is pretty cool to see your progression, right? And there's different goals you can set here, right? Like there's a power goal or a segment goal. But you know, this video is about segment goals, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. So yeah, this is the other way you can set when you can come here, explore segments, and you can find segments basically in your map. So we'll see what that loads over here. So yeah, it'll load a map of your, you know, where you typically ride, and you can kind of like click into a specific segment and set a goal for that. But this is a bit clunky, right? You can tell it's hard to actually find a specific segment here. So I like the other option much better, which is where you go into an activity and set a goal. Okay, so let's talk about where this fits in your training, in your motivation, right? And why I think this is so useful. So typically when a lot of people train, they focus a lot on power, but power is actually only just one dimension of your ability to do well on the bike, right? Like there's a lot of factors that go into let's say if you're training for a race, like winning a race or doing better in a race, power is just one of those, right? Like there's also your position on the bike, there's the wind. There might be factors of the day like heat or rain. And, you know, if we're just focusing on power and we're just focusing on, hey, am I delivering more power? Am I getting to higher, 20-minute power, 5-minute power? We're ignoring some of the effects of those other factors. And obviously, focusing on power gives us a very clear picture of that one dimension. But in reality, we know that we want to understand those other factors well because they will be important when we actually want to go out there in the real world and perform. So by setting a goal on a segment and trying to hit that goal, you will actually get better attuned to understanding the effects of some of these factors, right? Like let's say you said, like we have here this goal and this sunrise smash East Coast loop. And maybe I go and try to get to this goal on a specific day when I'm seeing a lot of headwinds, right? And I might not be able to achieve the goal, but I will get a better understanding of like, hey, how do headwinds actually affect my performance in this specific segment or overall, right? Or I might go at a time where it's very hot during the day or very humid, and again, I might not be able to hit the goal. Then in another day, maybe you go at night or you go in a day when you were getting tailwinds and you are actually able to achieve the goal, and you get a sense of, hey, how did that actually help me or allow me to achieve that target. Now you might think, hey, okay, but then that doesn't give me too good of a picture of whether I'm doing better because it's being affected by external factors. But that is actually the good thing about this, right? Like, because when we go out on the real world, when we go out on a race, when we go out on a group ride, there are real world factors that are going to be affecting us. And if we don't really understand the extent to which those affect us, how we can counter them, for example, if there's headwind, going more aero on the bike might be a thing that you need to focus on. Then we won't be able to perform in real world situations. And unless you are like an indoor cyclist only, you will need to understand that if you want to do better. The other cool thing here, right, is that we can see the past goals and how we've done on there. So, as an example here, I achieved this 40-minute goal that I wanted to hit on the Sunrise Smash East Coast Loop. And now I've set a more aggressive goal of 37:30. And I've given myself 200 days to complete that. In the future, hopefully I manage to achieve that. And then I'll be able to see, hey, at some point I had a goal of 40 minutes and I did it. And then at some point I had a goal of 37:30 and I did it. And maybe now I have a goal of 35 that I'm working towards, and I'll be motivated because I can see how I've progressed through this segment in doing better. And that'll keep me motivated to get a sense that, hey, I can do better. I can, through my training, actually shorten the time that it takes me to do these segments that I've targeted. One of the questions you might have is like, hey, how do I choose which segment to target? So, I'm not an expert in this. As I said, I only discovered this a couple of weeks ago, but at least how I went about it, right? Like I wanted to find a relatively long segment and flat segment that I could focus on to give me a sense of kind of like baseline power in flat conditions, right? So that's why I chose this Sunrise Smash East Coast, right? It's like a fairly long segment that doesn't have too much elevation, doesn't have too many traffic lights. So I can just go and like smash it and get that sense of like, sort of my 30-minute power, 40-minute power and how I'm doing in that. Then I chose this other Mount Faber Road climb to top, which is a shorter segment. So this one is, it's sort of 1.58 kilometers, you can see here. But it's a elevation segment. We don't have too many mountains here in Singapore, so this is the best I can do. But this is sort of more a test of my, 3, 4, 5-minute power and my ability to climb, right? To stay off the saddle, to hit that power hard, make sure I'm not rocking my body too much, etc. So it's a different dimension than that a flat segment that I chose for the other goal. So I think that's something to think about, right? Like you ideally want to have some goals for kind of like different kinds of segments, and this might depend on what you're targeting, right? Like if you're targeting a race that has a lot of climbing or a race that is very flat, you might want to set your segment goals depending on that. So okay, that's it. Fairly brief video today. Hope you find it useful. If you do, let me know in the comments, and I would love if you can subscribe or like this video. It makes a big difference for me as I'm starting out this channel. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it.